The high school I attended was 120 years old. The school building, which has been repeatedly reconstructed, is curved into a shape that can only be described as strange to the untrained eye. Although it is a one-story building, a staircase extends from the wall of the corridor to the ceiling. Other features include a music room just inside the entrance and a classroom with an embedded door that can no longer be entered. From the outside, they are blinded with plywood. The strangest of all is that there is a guard shack. Since I commuted to school from a distance, I was sometimes allowed to stay at a local friend's house or a teacher's company house. However, on the day when I didn't have a place to stay, I decided to stay at the guard shack. At first glance, the hut looks like just a private house. It is an 8-mat room with an old-fashioned telephone and a small kitchen. That night I learned firsthand why it was called the guard shack. In addition to me, another friend was going to stay with me in the hut. We were hobnobbing and laying out the futon as if we were on a trip. We were having dinner and chatting when suddenly the phone rang. I was scared to see what was going on, but when I answered the phone, it was the janitor's uncle. He seemed to be worried about us because we were students. He warned me not to get too frisked, and as I was about to hang up the phone, he said, "Oh, I forgot to tell you, make sure you close the curtains on the west side windows when you go to bed." At the time, I answered yes and hung up the phone, but when I thought about it, I could not understand what he meant. "It's funny," my friend said, as he casually opened the curtains. There was an old well, which was worshipped with a hemp rope. It was blocked by a U-shaped school building and a hut, something I'd never had the chance to see before, and yet, there it was. For a moment, I got chills. I had never seen anything like it before, and I had a chill in my stomach. I don't know how long I slept. I woke up shivering from the cold at my shoulders. When I looked up, my friend was gone. There was no bathroom in the hut, so I waited for a while, thinking he might have gone to the teacher's dormitory to borrow one, but he did not come back. I opened the door and looked outside, but there was no sign of him coming back from either the school building or the teacher's dormitory. I returned to my room, wondering where he had gone. I opened the curtains of the window ahead of me with a really casual feeling. My friend in her underwear was by the well. I opened the curtains to see my friend in her underwear standing by the well, her hands around her waist, fidgeting. I wondered, does he think the well is a toilet? I was about to close the curtain. I was suddenly seized by a strange sensation and turned my eyes toward the well again, almost shouting. He wasn't toileting. He had a rope wrapped around his waist. He was crouched down, a large stone strapped to the end of the rope. I could not speak. And now a slimy white hand reached out from the well. The hand wriggled around as if probing for something and eventually grabbed a nearby hemp rope. My friend hung his head down deeply and showed no reaction. The hand that held the rope began to pull the stone closer and closer. I thought I was screaming desperately, but I could not speak. Takeshi will be taken away. Just as I thought that, the phone rang piercingly in the darkness. At the same time as the sound, my body, which had been heavy and immobile, suddenly felt light. I ran outside barefoot and rushed to my friend by the well. I managed to carry him, in a state of release, to the shed, and I wonder how long I called out to him. After a while, my friend came to herself and began to cry. I, freed from my fear, joined her and began to cry as well. In the meantime, I grabbed the phone to call someone for help. However, the phone I grabbed with the entire receiver was not connected to the telephone line. I had indeed called earlier. I was later told that for some reason, when the school first opened, there was no end to the number of students throwing themselves into this well and attempting suicide, so they tried to dismantle it, but they tried to dismantle the well, but due to a series of unfortunate events, including the deaths of those involved, they eventually gave up on the idea of dismantling the well. So they renovated the well so that it would not be visible to the public. Even so, people would come out of nowhere to throw themselves into the well. A guard shack was set up to keep an eye on them. However, the man stationed in the hut, who was in charge of monitoring the well, also threw himself into the well, and the hut and the well were left as they were. The man who was stationed in the hut also threw himself into the well, resulting in the hut and the well being left as they were. How did he receive the phone call advising him not to open the curtains? And was he the watchman who died?